A new report from Bankrate finds 41 million Americans, think about that, have had their identity stolen, and another 49 million know someone who has. That's at Bankrate.com. And this morning, Amy Wagner is talking about ways to try to steer clear of risky behaviors that could actually put you in harm's way. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it really isn't a matter of if this is going to happen to you. It's more of a matter of when it's going to happen to you. And there's some major red flags that you can look for that maybe thieves have already gotten your identity. And I think a lot of times people ignore these or think maybe this was a mistake. They're not. So you have to look at these very, very seriously. One of them is a debt collector calls you about a debt that doesn't sound familiar. It's not yours. This happened to me several years ago. They claimed I owed money on a credit card. I had never opened that credit card. It took a while to fight through that, but it was certainly worth fighting through. Another thing is you should be checking your credit report regularly. Now, if you're looking at this credit report and you see there's an account on here that doesn't look familiar to me or some charges that don't look familiar to me, don't assume you've forgotten. Go ahead and do the research and make sure that these aren't on here because someone else is doing this. Another thing is medical claims. This is a big thing now. A lot of people are getting bills in the mail with their name on them, and it's for services that you never had done. So that's a big thing that people need to look out for. Another thing is you do have a legitimate medical claim, but your insurance company tells you you're over your limit. It's because somebody else has been using your insurance line, your insurance credit, for their own services. Now, another thing is the IRS notifies you and says, hey, we already have a tax claim filed from you this year.
That's the worst.
This happened to Nathan, my colleague, once. So these are all things that happen that maybe people could easily look over. You need to know that these are sure signs that someone is messing with your credit. And if this happens to you, the web that you have to unweave is huge. So there are some things that you could be doing right now, really, really easy things, just to make sure that you can, you're protecting yourself, you're taking the proper steps. One of them is your social security number. Don't carry that card. And I think also a lot of people don't know that when you go to the doctor's office, that's one of the #1 things that they ask you for on those forms that you fill out. You do not have to give that out.
Really?
You don't, and it won't affect anything. So don't give that out in places like that where you're wondering if they really need it. They probably don't. They're just old forms. Another thing is Wi-Fi. Using that public Wi-Fi, and it's insecure, and maybe you're doing your banking on there or something like that. So many of us choose convenience over security, and this day and age, it's just a huge mistake. Another thing is giving out personal info to people when it's unsolicited. Or, maybe you're at Panera and you notice that someone's looking over your shoulder as you're typing in your password. Also a no-no.
Yeah, and
you
creepy.
have to just be so aware. And here's a big thing for people. Don't use the same password over and over again.
Okay.
We just had this huge Yahoo leak, and people were wondering, okay, well, it's just email, so what's the big deal about that? Well, if you use that same password for your email that you use for other accounts that are even maybe more secure, like your banking account, well, all of a sudden they have all this personal information about you in your email, and they have your password. So we know that people are doing this. The interesting thing is, too, 18 to 25-year-olds are the biggest offenders for this. I would think they would be sort of smarter about how they use their passwords, but they're using their passwords over and over again. And then just create a complex password. So many people have a favorite movie quote, right? Think of a favorite movie quote. Take the first letter from each of those words, put an exclamation mark at the end, and you've got a unique, complex password that is not going to be as easy as your mom's name or your middle name or your husband's name. So quick, easy things. None of these take time, but I will tell you one thing. They will save you a ton of time if you get into a mess like this.